All right, this is a Unit 3 constructed response help video. So here's the Unit 3 CR Word document, the assignment document. So read the passage, then write a response to the prompt. Here's our prompt. How do the author's word choices shape the humorous tone of the story and uncomfortable bed? Use textual evidence to support your response. Your written response should be one complete paragraph. All right, so our text is An Uncomfortable Bed by Guy de Maupassant. Here's a picture. And then here's the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and then the ending of the story. Okay, and then we have write a response to the prompt. How did the author's word choices shape the humorous tone of the story? An Uncomfortable Bed. Use textual evidence to support your response. Your written response should be one complete paragraph. Okay. So let's take a look at the story. An Uncomfortable Bed. So, we have, in the beginning, we have our setting. It's autumn. It's hunting season. It takes place in a chateau, which is just a big fancy house in Picardy. We're not told where Picardy is, but that's the setting of the story. Okay, so then my friends were fond of practical jokes. Okay, so practical jokes. So if we go into our notes, a joke is a funny saying, story, riddle, or question and answer. A practical joke involves someone doing something that is funny or an action that makes a person look funny, also known as a prank. Okay, so a practical joke is a prank. Now, my friends were fond of practical jokes. So that means that the characters' friends liked practical jokes. They liked pulling pranks on each other. And then he goes on to say, I do not care to know people who are not. So he does not like to be friends with people that do not like practical jokes. So he likes practical jokes, and he likes people that do practical jokes. When I arrived, they gave me a princely reception. So he's basically saying they gave him this very nice welcome, which at once awakens suspicion in my mind. So he already is suspicious of why they are being so overly nice to him and welcoming. So they fired off rifles. They're shooting hunting guns. They embraced me. They gave him a hug. They made much of me. Hi, how you doing? Nice to see you. Glad you're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As if they expected to have great fun at my expense. So they expected to tease him and joke with him and do a practical joke on him to make him look silly or funny, or have him do something that was silly or funny. I said to myself, look out, old ferret. They have something in store for you. So look out, be aware. They have something in store for you, right? So let's take a look at our notes. So our objective for the prompt, how do the author's word choices shape the humorous tone of the story? An Uncomfortable Bed. Use textual evidence to support your response. Your written response should be one complete paragraph. Okay. So we want to do two things. We want to look for the words and phrases that help to make the story funny. Look for the words and phrases that help to make the story funny. And then explain how those details develop the story's comical overall atmosphere. How do those details develop the story's comical overall atmosphere? Okay, those are what we're going to do in our written response, our paragraph. So our objective, identify and explain how the author's word choices form the tone of a text. Right, we have the story read aloud, the assignment read aloud. You can use the CR graphic organizer to help you create your paragraph. You can use the CR checklist to make sure you have included everything and done all tasks required for the assignment. Okay, so look for the words and phrases that help to make the story funny. You want to look at the word choices, which are words and phrases that are used in the story. You want to think about the tone of the story. The tone of the story is the author's attitude or the overall atmosphere, right? And the author's attitude is humorous, it's funny or comical. So you want to explain how those words and phrases, how those details develop the story's comical overall atmosphere. So we'll answer the question in your written response, and we'll highlight some of the text that shows the humorous tone of the story, and then include those examples or quotes in your paragraph. Okay, so this is what we're going to do now together. We're going to look for the words and phrases that help to make the story funny. And then you are going to have to explain how those details develop the story's comical overall atmosphere. And I'll talk a little bit about that in our help video today. So let's go back into the story, and we're going to highlight. Okay. So we know we have practical jokes. We have expected to have great fun at my expense. So we know that that is also talking about a practical joke, right? Now, he calls himself Old Ferret, which is kind of funny on its own, just because why would you call yourself Old Ferret? So when I read that the first time, it made me giggle. So here we have, during the dinner, the merriment. Merriment is fun, right? Fun and laughing and having, telling jokes and just having a good old time. During the dinner, the merriment was excessive, exaggerated. In fact, I thought, here are people who have more than their share of amusement, and apparently without reason. They must have planned some good joke. Okay. Assuredly, I am to be the victim of the joke. Be on your guard. Okay, so during the entire evening, everyone laughed in an exaggerated fashion. I sense here, again, we have practical joke in the air as a dog sense game. But what was it? I was watchful, restless. I did not let a word or a meaning or a gesture escape me. Everyone seemed to me an object of suspicion, and I even looked distrustfully at the faces of the servants. Now this, even though it's not adding to the funny overall atmosphere of the story, this is actually foreshadowing events to come. I even looked distrustfully at the faces of the servants, and we will come back to that after we get to the end of the story. This is foreshadowing what is going to come later in the story. The hour struck for retiring, meaning going to sleep, going to bed, and the whole household came to escort me to my room. Why? They called to me, "Good night." I entered the apartment, which is basically just a big bedroom, shut the door, and remained standing without moving a single step, holding the wax candle in my hand. Now, why is he doing that? That's kind of a silly thing to do, right? Just go lay down in bed and go to sleep. But no, he goes in, he shuts the door, and he just stands there. I heard laughter and whispering at the corridor. Without doubt, they were spying on me. I cast a glance around the walls, the furniture, the ceiling, the hangings, the floor, saw nothing to justify suspicion. I heard persons moving about outside my door. I had no doubt they were looking through the keyhole. An idea came into my head. My candle may suddenly go out and leave me in darkness. Okay, then I went across to the mantelpiece and lighted all the wax candles that were on it. After that, I cast another glance around me without discovering anything. I advanced with short steps, carefully examining the apartment. Nothing. I inspected every object, the one after the other. Still nothing. I went over to the window. The shutters, large wooden shutters, were open. I shut them with great care and then drew the curtains. Enormous velvet curtains, and placed a chair in front of them so as to have nothing to fear from outside. Now he's going through all of this. He's doing all of this stuff because he's worried. He's paranoid. He's got anxiety that his friends are going to do something to him as a practical joke. They're going to get him as a prank, do a prank to him. And he is acting very silly, doing all of these things in fear that they are going to prank him or do a practical joke on him. And he continues, then I cautiously sat down. The armchair was solid. I did not venture to get into the bed. However, the night was advancing, and I ended by coming to the conclusion that I was foolish. Yes, he's being foolish, right? He's doing all of these things for no reason. He's being foolish. If they were spying on me, as I suppose they must, while waiting for the success of the joke, they had been preparing for me. I have been laughing immoderately at my terror, right, his fears. So I made up my mind to go to bed. He realizes he's being foolish. He figures out that if they were spying on him, he would have heard them laughing at his fear, and he doesn't hear them laughing. So he says, all right, never mind, forget it. I'm just going to go to sleep. But the bed was particularly suspicious looking. So here he goes again. He's back to worrying. I pulled at the curtains. They seemed to be secure. At the same time, there was danger. I was going, not real danger, danger of being pranked, right? I was going perhaps to receive a cold shower, both from overhead or perhaps the moment I stretched myself out, to find my sinking to the floor with my mattress. So he's afraid that even if he lies in the bed, they're going to dump cold water on him as a prank or a practical joke. I searched in my memory for all the practical jokes that I had ever experienced, and I did not want to be caught. Certainly not. Certainly not. Then I suddenly thought of a precaution which I was sure would keep me safe. Again, not, He's not in any real physical danger. He is safe. He is just worried and scared that they are going to prank him, pull a practical joke on him. So he's doing all of these things, being silly and acting foolish, to prevent them from actually, quote, getting him, right? So I caught hold of the side of the mattress gingerly, very carefully, and very slowly drew it toward me. It came away, followed by the sheet and the rest of the bedclothes. So he's literally pulling the mattress with the sheets and blankets and pillows off of the bed frame. I dragged all these objects into the very middle of the room, which is silly in itself, facing the entrance door. I made my bed over again as best I could, at some distance from the suspected bedstead and the corner which had filled me with such anxiety. So he realizes that he's having anxiety about this practical joke and this prank that might be pulled on him. And so he pulls the mattress into the middle of the floor in front of the door, and he kind of makes it up so that he can sleep on it there. Then I extinguished all the candles and, groping my way, kind of crawling through, he blows out all the candles, and crawling on the floor through the room, he goes into the made-up bed in the middle of the room. For at least another hour I remained awake, so he's still not able to actually sleep because he's so worried about this, starting at the slightest sound. So he's you know, he hears a tiny little creak or some wind, and he wakes up, or he gets up. Everything seems quiet in the chateau. So the house is quiet. This is all in his head, right? I fell asleep. I must have been in a deep sleep for a long time, but all of a sudden I was awakened with a start. All of a sudden he was woken up by the fall of a heavy body tumbling right on top of my own, and at the same time I received on my face, on my neck, and on my chest a burning liquid which made me utter a howl of pain. Something happened. And a dreadful noise, as if a sideboard laden with plates and dishes had fallen down, almost deafened me. So something happens where he feels a heavy body tumbling over he feels this hot liquid all over his body, and that hurts. Right, he hears a dreadful noise, and he hears plates and dishes falling down, very loud clatter. So what is going on here? What exactly is going on? Is this part of the practical joke? Is this the prank that he has been worrying about all night? I was suffocating beneath the weight that was crushing me and preventing me from moving. I stretched out my hand to find out what was the nature of this object. So what the heck has fallen on top of me here? I felt a face, a nose, and whiskers. Okay, so maybe it's one of his friends. Maybe it's one of his friends finally playing this practical joke, this prank on him. Then with all my strength, I launched out a blow at his face. So he's punching this person in the face, probably thinking that it is one of his friends. But I immediately received a hail of cuffing, which made me jump straight out of the soaked sheets and rushed in my nightshirt to the corridor, the door of which I found open. So the door of his room is open. He punches this poor fellow in the face, and he hears his friends laughing in the hallway. His door is open. He hears his friends in the hallway, and he jumps up, a little bit confused and disoriented. Oh, heavens. It was broad daylight. So it's morning. It's light out. The noise brought my friend hurrying into my apartment, into his big bedroom. So, so here his friends heard all of this clatter of the body tumbling and the howling of pain, the dreadful noise of the plates and dishes falling down. Okay, so, and they rushed in to see into his bedroom to see what exactly was going on. And we found, sprawling over my impoverished bed into his makeshift bed, the dismayed butler. Oh no. Oh no, it's the butler. Who, while bringing me my morning cup of tea, had tripped over this obstacle in the middle of the floor that he had made, right, and fallen on his stomach, spilling my breakfast all over my face in spite of himself. Ay, ay, ay. So we have, hold on, let's go back. So a hail of cuffing, which is a loud, roarous laughter. Okay. So all of this is adding to the comedy, right? The precautions I had taken in closing the shutters and going to sleep in the middle of the room had only brought about the practical joke I had been trying to avoid. There was a lot of laughter that day. Okay, so everything that I highlighted, all of the words and phrases, practical jokes, have great fun at my expense, old ferret, merriment, amusement, good joke, joke, laughed in an exaggerated fashion, practical joke, laughter, joke, laughing, practical jokes, hail of cuffing, this whole paragraph here describing exactly what had happened that was so funny, right? And the practical joke, and there was a lot of laughter that day. So, so if we go back just for some comprehension of the story, I even looked distrustfully at the faces of the servants. So he didn't even trust, he really didn't trust his friends, but he didn't even trust the servants. Okay, so what happened, even though he tried to avoid, all night long, he tried to avoid this practical joke from happening, this prank from happening to him, he, by doing all of the things that he did, he actually brought upon the practical joke, the prank, on himself. Okay? And the friends didn't even do anything. The friends didn't even actually do anything. The butler, bringing in his breakfast, tripped over, couldn't see anything because the curtains were pulled closed. There was no light. The candles were blown out. And the butler, bringing in the breakfast, had tripped over and fallen over this bed that he had pulled into the middle of the room. And so lots of laughter that day because he actually pulled a practical joke or a prank on himself. Not on purpose, but I'm sure his friends thought that was very, very funny that all of that had happened and they didn't even do anything to him. So that explains the humor of the story, and all of these words and phrases help us understand and see the comedy of the story. Okay, so everything that I highlighted in yellow there are the word choices, the words and phrases in the story that help to shape the humorous tone of the story. Okay, if we go back to our helping notes here, we want to look for the words and phrases that help to make the story funny. We did that. Okay, then you need to explain how those details develop the story's comical overall atmosphere, right? Okay, so remember, you want to look at the word choices, words and phrases that are used in the story. We did that. Think about the tone of the story. The author's attitude is humorous, funny, comical. We talked about that a little bit. Answer the question in your written response. Okay, explain how those details develop the story's comical overall atmosphere. And we highlighted some of the text that shows the humorous tone of the story. You want to include those examples or quotes in your paragraph. Okay. So there you go. There is the words and phrases highlighted there. Okay. And now you can just explain how those words and phrases that I highlighted help to shape the funny overall atmosphere of the story. All right, good luck.